Tell me what a typical day was like for you.
I'd have to get up at about 7, leave at 7:30, rush and eat breakfast, and all the staff ate breakfast at the same time. And there was only enough room for the staff, like a third of the staff at a time, to eat. But for breakfast, everyone ate at the same time.
Was this at the complex?
No, this was at the Hollywood Guarantee Building, the HGB.
So you'd take a bus from the complex?
I lived for a period. I lived at the Anthony Building, which is near the complex. So then it's like a 15-minute bus ride to the HGB. Then I lived at the Hollywood Inn, which was on Hollywood Boulevard, which was like about 10 blocks down the road. So then at 8, work started. Then we'd have half an hour for lunch at about 11:30 to 12. And then it would be work until 5:30. Our schedule changed, but it was always half an hour lunch, 45 minutes dinner. Unless we were in lower conditions or there's something going on, then our meal times would be shortened even more. And on a regular basis, you didn't take your full meal break. Most people didn't take their full meal break ever, or a lot of the time, because just because your senior said you have to work, you have to finish this before you can go to dinner. That was a regular thing. You have to finish this before you can go to dinner. You have to finish this before you can go home. So, but the schedule was half an hour for lunch, 45 minutes for dinner, and then 10:30 go home. And that was every single day. On Saturday, instead of working our regular jobs, we did renovations, like painting, putting new pipes in, etc., for like fixing up the building we worked in or we lived in. And then on Sunday, we had until 1 in the afternoon to do our laundry and to clean our room. We used to be able to use that time to do other things. We weren't really allowed to, but we would, and then they got very strict and made a new rule. Absolutely could not go anywhere, do anything other than doing your laundry. And the parents who had children up at the ranch, which was an hour and a half away, were using that time to go up and see their children. And they were told, you cannot do that anymore. The only way they could ever see their children is if they got a day off. And people would go for a year without getting a day off. Yeah, the Pack Ranch.
Where's the Pack Ranch?
It's in Valencia, up in like the hills. It's about an hour and a half drive by bus.
So these are the parents with in Pack, in
Yeah.
the LA area?
Yeah, with children. And that's where the children were taken. This was later, they were taken there.
And parents would go for a year without seeing their children?
People would go for a year without taking a day off, and they weren't. Sometimes they'd bring the kids down to work, so once in a while they'd see them, but parents went for months and months without seeing their children. One lady, when I was the director of inspections and reports, one lady's daughter said she wanted to kill herself because she missed her mom and other things so much. She said she wanted to kill herself. Her mom obviously got very afraid and said, I need to go up there. Her senior said, you can't go. She went anyway and got in huge trouble and was sent to me to be handled for doing this, for leaving, and she was told she had blown, which means you leave without permission, and that's a big deal, like a huge deal. I thought it was sickening. I thought it was so sickening I couldn't even understand it.
I just want to say, I myself had suicide thoughts, but I would never ever say them. It was like a secret for me because in Scientology, if you think of suicide or you think of committing it, you're a very bad person.
You're crazy.
So, yeah, you're just crazy. So I had like some thoughts when things were really going downhill for me, and I never admitted them. But for the girl to actually admit them, knowing the label that would be put on her, I mean, she obviously had to be going through a lot. And I mean, I wish I had had one of my parents come down and talk to me about that. I mean, I can just imagine the situation that girl was in. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but that was our basic day, 8 to 10:30. But that wasn't really your basic day because you almost always worked later. They said the miners weren't supposed to work past 10. Really, the miners, depending on their age, weren't either supposed to work at all or weren't supposed to work more than 3 hours a day. But they said, okay, well, the miners have to stop working at 10 and everyone else at 10:30. But really, you could work till 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. There was one period when I was still, I think I was 16 or 17, and they were doing this whole new thing where they were writing all these new policies, and all the staff had to stay up night and day printing the new policies and putting them in books, etc., because there was going to be a big event where it was going to be released to everybody. And we literally, it's hard for me to even believe, I don't even know how we did not sleep for weeks, about 3 weeks from what I remember. The only sleep we got was we would fall asleep, or we'd be allowed to go home for 2 hours. My job was to go wake everyone up. I was driving around falling asleep in my car. and I wasn't even 18. I wasn't even supposed to be working, more than a few hours a day. Sometimes we went for 2 or 3 days with no sleep, and then we'd be allowed to sleep for a couple hours, and we had to come back in. And literally, I got an average of an hour or two sleep a night. I was delirious. So was everyone else. We'd fall asleep while we were eating, like just blabbering. So, but on a regular basis, we had to stay up late. Every Thursday night, we had to stay up till 3 and then sleep till noon because we had to get all the statistics in.
So that they could be sent up to
the executives.
management.
Yeah, exactly. And we had to compile them all. And that was another time where I got yelled and screamed at because every week we had to get about 300 different organizations to report, and they each had to report like...
This is from all over the world.
Yeah, and they had to report like 50 to 200 statistics. And every week, of course, someone didn't report. Someone went home without reporting. Someone forgot. Someone was late. And it was just unbelievable what would happen to us. We had this system where every week we had to do something that was like instant messaging back and forth with the executives up at INS. And it would get to the point where they would be saying, F you this, saying every swear word you can think of, telling me that I was counterintention, telling me that I was stopping it from happening, that they were going to send me to ethics. They would then call down and scream, and it was really, 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 really hard to deal with.
Can you recreate one of those screaming telephone calls?
Well, I can't do the girl's accent because she had a foreign accent, but she was like, Astra, what the fuck are you doing? Get these statistics. You're stopping COB. Things like that. In the morning she would start off,
David Miscavige.
Yeah, you're stopping COB. I need the statistics for him, I don't know what she looked like. I never met her. In the morning, she would start off really nice. Hi, Astra, how you doing? Good morning. Let's get this done on time. As soon as it wasn't on time. And on
But she was getting screamed at.
She was getting screamed at, of course. And the other thing was, there was nothing I could do. This is another thing of, you go around in a circle. I was not allowed to call to tell them.